March 1st, 1932, a tragic happening took place which startled the whole town and later came to be a tragic event for the Lindbergh family. Our story starts on February 4th, 1902, when Charles Lindbergh Jr.'s father was born, Charles Lindbergh. He was raised in Minnesota on a farm. In the 1920s, Raymond Ortigue, a hotel owner, was holding a contest for the first pilot to travel in a plane from New York to Paris, offering a prize of $25,000, which is the equivalent to $327,500 in 2020. Charles wanted to win this challenge, so he got help from some St. Louis businessmen. He took off on a monoplane, which was named the Spirit of St. Louis. After 33 hours and 30 minutes, he had successfully landed in Paris, with 100,000 people awaiting for him. Charles received medals and was greeted everywhere he went. Charles spent a lot of his time giving speeches about aviation. On June 22, 1930, Charles and his wife had a baby named Charles Lindbergh Jr. He was born in Englewood, New Jersey. On March 1st, 1932, 22 months later, around 9 p.m., the kidnapper used a ladder to reach into the second floor. Charles was then kidnapped from the nursery of the second floor. About an hour later, Betty Gow, the child's nanny, discovered the child as missing. The family called the police, and the New Jersey Police Department took over. The evidence was found as a ladder was discovered not far from the house, and it was broken down the middle, and muddy, faint footprints were discovered, which led into the woods from the property, and there was a ransom note sitting on the window, still demanding $50,000. The media called Charles the Eaglet after news of the kidnapping was released. 2 more ransom notes were received, one demanding $70,000, which was $20,000 more than the last note. On March 8, 1932, after the family continuously failed to contact the kidnappers, a teacher from New York City named John Condon placed a commercial to hopefully be able to act as a negotiator between the family and the kidnappers. One day later, on March 9th, a note from the kidnappers was sent to John agreeing to these conditions. On March 16th, a pair of the child's pajamas was sent to John's house to prove that the kidnappers were the same kidnappers from the night of the 1st. John was waiting at night, with Charles sitting in a car close by at Raymond Cemetery, located in Bronx, New York. A man named John, which is what John Condon calls him, negotiated a ransom fee, and eventually they settled to the original $50,000, which in return they would receive the location of the child. After the payment was made, the John gave Condon a note which stated the child's location and that he was on a boat named Nellie, which was close to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. After finding no boat named Nellie, giving the ransom was all for nothing, and the family got nothing in return. In early May, banks received the serial number of the money that was sent to John. It made it into the top newspapers and was all over the media. In May 12, 1932, discovered 8 kilometers to about 5 miles away from the Lindbergh house was the child's body. It was determined that the child was killed from a blow to the head a while after Charles was kidnapped. A bit later, Condon gave a physical description of the kidnapper John, and the description matched a German carpenter named Bruno Hauptmann. On September 19, 1934, Bruno was arrested for the murder of Charles, as well as for the ransom payment that was found on him. After Bruno's arrest, investigators found $13,000 in ransom money in his garage. However, Bruno stated that he was holding the money for a friend in Germany. Bruno's handwriting was also very similar to the handwriting of all of the ransom notes, and Bruno had a criminal history which included burglary. All of the evidence, he was indicted of murder on October 8, 1934. On February 13, 1935, Bruno Hauptmann was sentenced to death, and eventually the case was brought to the Supreme Court in December 1935. However, Bruno Hauptmann lost. On April 3rd, 1936, Bruno Hauptmann was killed and executed by the electric chair. That's the Halloween special for 2020. I hope you enjoyed this darker episode, and maybe we will see you again next year.